This actually work session. Time is like 6:02 p.m. April 26th, Monday. First order of business is roll call. If you would say yay or say here, I don't need to be directing my attention there. Christy?
Here.
Ricardo?
Here.
Crystal?
Not yet.
Heidi?
Hi, here.
Jason?
Here.
Thanks, Jason. Bill? Here. Chair's here. We have a quorum. So if you guys would join me in the flag salute. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Board communication, April 21, state education updates. I'll let you guys look at the links. Actually, our first other order of business is shout out from the principals and director's report. So if they're ready, let's go ahead and hear from them.
Okay. All right, I believe Tammy's going first.
I guess maybe a little background or a little setup for this. So we had really difficult data to deal with the last meeting. It was really tough. No reflection on our staff's part, I don't think. It's the system that they've been asked to implement. And now that they've had a little bit of time with kids in the building, I wanted to get just sort of a kind of a snapshot as to where things are at and what things are going well for them. So that was sort of why I asked for kind of a report from our admin.
And Crystal's just entered the meeting as well. Tammy, if you can hear us, you can go ahead and start.
You bet. Thank you all for allowing us this opportunity because it's really nice to talk about some things that are positive. So I'm going to go ahead and kick it off, and then the elementary and high school will follow. So if you go ahead and advance the slide, please. Okay, no, we need to go backwards to just the second one. It should say let's connect. Perfect, right up there, right there, perfect. Thank you. So first of all, I want to say Dave apologizes for not being here tonight. It's his wife's birthday, and I told him he needed to make her a steak and then cake. So he is doing that for her tonight, which is lovely. So Dave and I thought really the best way to share our positive things happening at the middle school was through pictures that are real, so you can see for yourself what's happening. Each year, for the last 4 years, we have a theme to start our school year, and it's usually what's resonating with our staff or students at a certain time. And this year, our theme was a nod out to the virtual reality and the fact that kids need to connect now more than ever. So our theme was Let's Connect. We also wanted to give, just say before you advance, that we are really proud of our custodial staff. Even though we didn't get as pretty of a building as the high school received, we are so grateful for what the bond allowed us. And our custodial staff went above and beyond. They got rid of all the weird green neon stripes and the red stripes. And so the building looks really pretty, and we're very appreciative of that. Okay. When hybrid returned, it was literally like the sun rising, and it brought with it heaps of positivity. At first, everyone was really nervous and anxious and just didn't even know what to expect. But within 2 days, the smiles returned and energy returned. We asked kids throughout all the weeks some questions, and we asked them what's best about being back in hybrid, and mostly said that it was seeing their teachers and seeing their fellow classmates. One student said the best thing about being back is the food, and it was really great. While many others say, and now I can really try in school. The week prior to hybrid beginning, our teachers worked really, really hard. Many of our staff had not even met one another, which is really weird, prior to this very meeting that you're seeing right now. We followed safety procedures, and Mr. Treen, Miss Colley, and Miss Landry did the professional development along with Dave and I. They did this cool thing. They wanted to make sure technology was going to work for everyone. So they set up 3 different tech simulation labs in 3 different rooms. So staff could rotate through those rooms, try the different setups, and then choose which one worked best for them for concurrent teaching. So it would be the best for them and their students. Next, please. Oh yes, we know the importance of making our 6th graders feel really welcome. They hadn't even stepped on this campus yet, and so we knew that we had to treat them special. Our 6th grade team didn't disappoint. This is a team with Mr. Barrett and Mr. McGuire, and they put on, along with Miss Milbrook, really, really funny skits to help the kids relax, and also at the same time, they were teaching them routines that they needed to know. Thank you. And then it happened. They arrived by bus, by car. They arrived, and you can see, even on the first day, they have smiles on their face. They arrived safely. They were filled with lots of rules and safety procedures, but they followed them without flaw. It was simply amazing. Our top priority, of course, at the middle school was and always will be care and connection. And it just was beautiful. We worked on virtual tools and techniques all along, but nothing replaces the feeling of seeing those kids' faces and seeing them engage in person. Next. One student says, and this is a quote, "This is awesome. I actually get something done, like what I need to get done in 10 minutes. At home, it would have taken me all day." Next. Students like attending every other day in the setup that they have, because they say that attending that way kind of boosts them and keeps them going. And we've seen some early results. Excuse me. 24% of our middle school students have maintained a 3.5 or better, placing them on the honor roll. And additionally, 16 of our 28 kids who were chronically absent are attending hybrid regularly, and our overall rate of attendance is 83%. Next. And our stellar 8th grade humanities teacher, Mr. Treen, states, "Teachers learned a ton about technology, but more importantly, they learned that students have grown in knowledge and experiences that aren't just about state standards. They have learned skills that will translate to their future success, both in and out of the classroom." And of course, we had to have fun. Here you see Mr. Pommier trying to entertain 6th graders while they transition to their next class. He was seen many times doing this. Most of the time he was riding that skateboard, which the kids just absolutely loved. And the last slide. What I can tell you is that we went through these 4 different models and we did it successfully. What I can tell you is that the middle school staff and the principals are tenacious when it comes to learning and keeping our kids engaged. Thank you.
Thanks, Tammy.
Thank you, Tammy. I will go ahead and jump in if we want to scroll up to the elementary slide. And we wanted to put some photos on here with our slide, elementary, great things are happening online and on campus. And a picture tells 1,000 words. And if you scan across each of these images, you see something really different and special happening. With our return to hybrid and a continuation of our CDL, we've been seeing a lot of joy and energy, a lot of well-being in kids and staff in our community. I'd just like to thank our board members and our staff and our community for joining us tonight and for all the support that you've been giving us for this incredible year of years. So you can see a classroom there of kiddos in class. They're doing school. They are participating and engaging in rich lessons, in learning, in collaborating with each other and with their teachers, in memory-making experiences. And we're having that same experience with our students that are online as well. If you look to the upper right-hand photo, you see a welcome back sign that welcomed families and students back to campus. Children playing on our new playgrounds, equipment, and school buses transporting kids safely to and from school. One of the best things that we've seen happening is artwork on our walls. We have the beautiful images of children within the school now, and they are kind of retaking back their building, so to speak. And that's been a really wonderful thing. There's been a lot of concentrated learning time happening with our smaller class sizes. And we've also found that kids have been learning beyond the classroom. So one of the things that's been amazing is to hear the stories of kids as they've come through the other side of our year and the things that they've been doing. And one of the other benefits has been our family engagement and community engagement, really like no other that we've had. And so we've been able to connect with kids now that they've been back in the school and with same or different teachers in their comprehensive distance learning, to engage with their families in some really amazing ways that schools haven't been doing before, and that's been wonderful. We've also been proud of the excellence of our professionals across our organization. Our staff has been amazing. There's been a lot of challenges, and they've been able to find innovative ways to meet them and overcome them. We're looking at a lot of ways how learning is unfinished and not lost. And one of the best things that we've encountered is just the return to campus and return to an engaging experience for our elementary kids. Number of kindergarten kiddos just giddy about being on campus and in school. Kindergarten through 5th grade, really. One of the best quotes that I got from a kindergartner a number of weeks back was, "Did you know that I'm a kindergartner and I'm going to be in the building?" And that was just wonderful to hear, because there was a lot of weeks and a lot of months where that was not the case. And so we're just really proud of our kids, proud of our staff, proud of our community, to have students back on campus and engaging also in distance learning, and our distance learning staff and on-campus staff have been doing an exemplary job. So there's a lot of joy, a lot of energy, and we're really excited about what's coming this spring.
So now for the high school.
Thanks, Corey.
So for the high school, we were so excited to finally have students in our building. They've never seen our building. They've seen parts of the CTE building. It was so nice to have. It was so nice to have our parents willing to come in and decorate the halls, put up inspirational signs, welcoming everybody. You know, when we first started thinking about bringing these kids back, we talked about Do we bring in the ninth graders like Link Crew? And we went, this building is new to all. So why not just open the doors? So that's what we did. You can see one of the pictures on the far right side of students checking in, getting screened. You can see over on the far left side, they're checking into getting a breakfast and heading up to gym 1, letting the kitchen staff know what they want for lunch. Once we got the kids in the building, I'm the type that always are taking pictures of everything that's going on, but I'm excited about having kids in the building. I forgot to do that task. So it was more of having conversations with them and asking them, what do you think of our building? Are you glad to be back? Are you happy to be in the classroom with your teachers? Our freshmen were pretty scared. Some of them didn't know what to expect. But our staff is very welcoming and taking freshmen, well, all our students under their arm and help guiding them through. We had 5 to 6 of our ASB members, so the first day, greeting the kids and helping them get around and showing them where their classes are, like a makeshift Link Crew. They came in the day before and was given a tour and a map and kind of how the layout of the building was. And so it was nice to have upperclassmen there to help guide all our students around our new building. Teachers are excited to have kids in the building. Students are happy to be there. We always have the conversations during lunchtime. What can we do better? What can we do to help you out? What do you think about being in class now? It's just all this excitement. And, of course, they want to be there every day. We would love to have them every day. We're trying to work out a plan to have them come in more as we follow the guidance and, change daily. But we're so excited about being here and having our kids back in our building and just learning and learning and learning, and also taking into account of what they have learned outside of our academic world. Grasping those experiences, talking about those experiences, and seeing how we can learn from their experiences and how we can apply it to our academic world. So that's kind of where the high school is. We are here, we're open, and the kids are loving our new building.
Thanks, Deanna, much appreciated. And appreciate all you guys preparing that and kind of giving us a snapshot as to what your life has been like the last couple of weeks with kids back in the building. So it's good things.
Yep. We're very proud of everything that you've accomplished. We know that we're near one finish line and looking at the start of the next race, which is, maybe are we going to do summer? ? We don't know. But we know we have to plan for next year. And I know that you are all heavily engaged in thinking about 5 days a week next year, and so are we. So we'll be excited to see that come to fruition. I would also want to say that you have done such an exceptional job of preparing your staff, not only for the teaching and learning components, but also for the safety and well-being and mental health and the social emotional component, that we're having a great start. Many other schools are having quarantines, large group quarantines, shut down, moving back to CDL. And we are very blessed to not be in that situation. So our community is really stepping up to help out as well. So I think it's a big shout out for everybody for the work that you've done and for the things that our community and staff are doing to keep everyone safe.
Alrighty, moving on to the work session part of our meeting. I'm going to take these two committees, since they're two separate committees, and split them apart rather than one report. I don't know if you guys have necessarily a report to give, or just kind of a status update as to where you are with with your committees, but, go ahead, Bill, if you want to go start on district report card.
Actually, I would request, because what we're doing right now is we're working together
Okay,
to define the whole concept and then split out the report card and the
Perfect.
ethics committee.
Then if
So
that's-
we're still at the point.
If
where
you're still
we're
collaborating
together
on
how
working
to
together,
roll
because
it out.
they're interrelated, so yeah, go ahead.
You want to say?
It's up to you. I don't care.
I'll just roll with it, we had, just begin discussion on terminologies, just general concepts of what we're talking about. The word equity has greatly different meanings in different contexts. And so we're trying to just zero in that we're defining equity in the public education context of things,
Mhm.
and then dividing that up through. So just setting around some initial goal discussions, because I think these two committees are related. For sure. This one's going to be accountability, and things like that, and the other one's going to be process and policies and guidance, So once we get our terminologies and kind of start setting some goals down, and then we'll bring that back to the board, right?
Yeah, we just talked about, important parts throughout this work would be, incorporating staff and students and community perspectives when we get to that point. Making sure that we kind of cover the big picture through that, looking for diversity throughout all sort of levels in the district. And then a lot of defining the terms and context around what we're talking about. And then after we do that within ourselves, there will be some need to expand that out.
Sure.
And how that rolls out, and how that works with the district's structure at some points, and if we can work within that structure, if we need to find some other structure points too. So a lot of still big concept stuff.
A lot of what? So-
Big concepts.
Sure.
Yeah, but some good work, I think, so far.
Good. And I'm assuming you're collaborating with staff or beginning that process. It probably haven't reached that point where your collaboration is happening on a committee structure basis, but kind of building those relationships. So
Yeah, and I think we've defined a few areas where we should start to pull information from, and then, go from there.
I think we need to go just at one level of overall objectives of what these two committees are doing. So when we go out and recruit staff, they have an idea of what it is they would like them to sign up for. So we're at that point of just putting some guidelines and definitions on there for people to understand what that is. Otherwise, we're just asking people, okay, we're gonna do this undefined concept. Do you want to be part of it? And that's not really that great. So
Yeah.
once we go one or two more meetings of just defining, okay, these are the boundaries, these are the conditions, and these are the terms, then we can go out and recruit staff with the definitions of this is what we're working on.
Yeah.
That's the thought anyways.
Yeah,
Mhm.
right. And some of the key areas being like curriculum and that kind of stuff. So still big picture. I would say.
Environment and different
Yeah.
levels.
Yeah.
So, so no decisions yet on, like, should we have a K-5
Right.
versus in 6-12, or should we do K-12? Those are all the kind of things we're working and thinking
Mhm.
about.
do you guys have questions of them, the work they're starting? What kind of regularity, in the short term, and then after you become a functioning committee, what kind of regularity do you want in terms of agenda? Do you want to be on the agenda, at work sessions? Do you want to be on the agenda, bi-monthly, or not bi-monthly, but every other
Yeah.
monthly? I don't know what kind of,
I would say once we get definite defined up and start forming the committee, we have a work session on that. And that might be 2 months away.
Okay, cool.
It'll be over the summer. for
Sure.
Right, and then we'll also have a better view of what kind of meetings we're gonna be allowed to have.
Well,
And
allowed to have, and then,
Right.
being cognizant of staff's time.
Yeah,
So you can
and
plug.
that kind of thing, so
Yeah.
what the schedules are gonna be, will we be in building full time?
Yeah.
Right, then it would be like every other month, once we get to that point, would be my suggestion.
Yeah, I would agree.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
I think this goes hand in glove with the work that we're doing at the district currently in establishing equity outcomes and looking for ways in which we deliver services to students and to families that meet their needs, knowing that there's a wide range of needs out there. So that's the challenge. And we're also participating in the House Bill 3499. That's the name of the grant. They didn't give it a name. It's just House Bill 3499. Where I know where we're getting support because we are required to receive targeted assistance from ODE to improve outcomes for students who are English language learners. Is the main eligibility criteria that the category that we've achieved a level where they say, we can help you out. And
That's K-5, right?
yeah, and that's K-5. And then, of course, they also measure 612. So the kids who are currently in K-5 will be moving into 612 very soon. And within that framework, that tells us it's not just a K-5 piece of work. We have to look at the entire system at the same time as we are able, but we will be learning from K-5 the things that can also help 6 to 12. And, I think this is probably one of the first work sessions where we talked about the board's work. So I want to help our staff understand who may be paying attention to this particular conversation, that this is the board's role. One of the main roles of the school board is to educate the community on items relative to board work and the school district, and to get feedback from them and to use that feedback and to work with the community and the staff in order to achieve the board's goals. I mean, that's straight out of what a school board does. So it's not uncommon for board members to be doing work like this. And I'd like to encourage you to jump in with both feet, because this is the type of work that really connects the community and helps us achieve the outcomes that you have been able to identify from your work on board. So I just wanted people to know that as a context for your work. I'm very glad you're doing it.
Yeah, I would just offer thanks again for taking that on, both of you. It is timely too. It's funny how this pause in the system because of COVID, I think it's almost given us an opportunity to kind of really look, kind of fine tooth comb some of the stuff that we need to look at going back in. And it's an issue that I think every district is looking at, but I think us taking kind of the magnifying glass to things, I think is a good thing. So thank you. All right, Heidi.
Okay, well.
Actually, before we end, do we have Crystal on the line?
Yes,
Okay.
I'm here.
Did you or Jason have questions about this committee at all, or about these two committees?
No, I would just like to make sure that we get at minimum a quarterly update. Does that make sense?
Sure, absolutely. I think that's not at all out of line. I think that's right in line. So maybe more. Yep. Jason, did you have any comments or questions?
No, Glenn, I'm fine. Thank you.
Yep, thanks. All right, go ahead, Heidi.
Well, I think you have it in your packet, and you can pull it up there on the board, but I just this is just a rough draft that I kind of just came up with, and it's certainly just a working base for us to go off of. And I think it kind of dovetails nicely with what we were just talking about, kind of as we start to flesh out committees and other groups to kind of start supporting us in our visions and our work of where we're going, to make sure that that's reflected in our goals. And these are just some ideas. So start with that. And I think that you could put, you know, those, just that what we were just talking about in the equity piece, but however you want to state those, you can flesh that out a little bit more. And maybe even in the communication about getting families involved in that work too. So,
On the equity piece?
Well, yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
I think that the work you're doing, you know, I think they all are intertwined, you know? I mean, it's gonna be part communication, part equity, reaching out to our community, asking them to become involved and engaged in the work. So, it's, yeah. Anyway, anybody, this is just a springboard. Anybody have any ideas? Thoughts?
Crystal has raised her hand.
oh, go ahead, Crystal.
I, first of all, Heidi, thanks for doing this because it looks wonderful. Second of all, do we know when the website will be online, and do we have any plans to have that translated into Spanish? So we have 2 versions.
The answer is, I think the website's rolling out in 2 weeks. And yes, it's in Spanish. You can hit, there's a button that you hit that it automatically is in Spanish or in
Okay.
English. Yeah. And then we're also trying to add, there's a dyslexic button that you can tap, that if you are dyslexic, it changes the way that the website is presented, so it's easier, it's more accessible.
Wow.
So that's something else that we're adding.
That's awesome. Do we have other languages besides Spanish or just Spanish? Like, is it a, you know, all-encompassing choose your translation? Just curious.
Yes, there's multiple translations, but we wanted to make sure that our main languages were covered and addressed.
Okay, the only thing, Heidi, that I see on here that I would also like to have is like some clear times that we're gonna set aside time in a meeting to make sure that we are following our goals. Because what I feel like is we make a lot of goals and then we never follow up on them. So I want to try to have loop closure with that, and I'm not sure where that exactly goes.
Well, I have review, meaning like when we would, like how often we might be, we can put specific dates in there or quarters or, you know, however we want to measure those under metric, and then how often we want to touch base with those to, you know, review them.
Well, I feel like if we like, since there's 4 areas, we could pick 1 quarter for each area and then stay with that if everybody's agreeable to that. What I don't want to happen is we spend a lot of time on this and we look at it once a year and we don't remember any of it, which is kind of how it feels in the past.
I kind of like that idea because then you can spend maybe 2 or 3 meetings and really do a deep dive into each area instead of just like, you know, we get burned out in one meeting trying to do it all. And, you know, whereas we can, that's kind of a cool idea.
And if there's specific school level data or district level data that you like to use, we can coordinate the time, the quarter that you work with that data when it's available. Because there's a window of time that they release information like that, and you have to align that as well.
And that work is probably being completed and compiled, like you said, on a timely basis, so it would be, it would be rather efficient for us to deal with it when, you know, when it's available.
And I'm meeting with Willamette ESD to design a dashboard for the school board. You okay? Based on the board's goals, and the indicators that would help inform those goals, so that at any time, 365, 24 hours a day, you can get on that ROI and the information will be there.
Yeah, so I don't know if one area, like the goal area, there's 4 of them, like which ones, we could probably figure out which ones go to what quarter the most. Like, I'll leave you guys up for that, but I think if we did each area like a quarterly check-in would be great if we could add that to the document.
Well, it would make sense for student success. I mean, that would definitely be a certain time, and what would be the best quarter to, when to look at that. I don't know what that is.
I mean, we could get some insight from Ginger and the director of teaching and learning on which one correlates best with which area.
Yeah, that was my thought, to reach out to Sherry and to Linda, who understand the ODE reporting site and which ones come out under which time frame, and make a recommendation to the board for that information.
So is that something you want to do, or do you want to do that as an executive team?
We can, yeah, we can do that as a team, yeah.
Do that as an executive team, then have a
Yeah.
proposal that we could present back, or maybe
With
bring,
Heidi.
bring Heidi in, since she's kind of spearheading this.
Yeah.
And we can collaborate a little bit and then bring it, because I'm assuming we're gonna have to get this onto our school, onto our agenda and our schedule, and, finalize some sort of document that says, these are the goals that we really want to focus in on.
It'd be nice to have this by June.
Yeah.
Because then this board could vote on that.
Yep.
And then we can move forward into the year with these on board.
With those already in place, with that structure already built into our calendar, so.
Yeah, if I could just meet with maybe Ginger and any other board member who wants to, just to kind of get the language.
Sure.
Because I'm not really, yeah. So,
And I'll invite Sherry as well.
huh?
And we'll invite Sherry as well.
Okay.
Is that agreeable to everybody?
Yeah, sounds good. The only thing that I was gonna also add in is maybe some more specificity under care and connection.
Yeah,
It's,
I don't know.
and I don't know what the right term is either, or terms, but I feel like this right here is just like, keep it the way it is right now. Keep going the way we're going. And that's, I don't think we're doing a bad job.
Yeah.
But what specifically do we want to
Right.
achieve there?
Well, Cheryl Dyer does a lot of work for us in this area. She's been involved in kind of running our multi-tiered systems of support. And that ties into this care and connection thing. And she could very easily explain to the board what enhancements have occurred since the beginning of the year because of COVID, what was going on prior to that, how they're putting those things together, and how they're viewing it through an equity lens and the work that they're doing. And she would be able to help us identify indicators that we could use to measure progress in these areas.
I think that would be really helpful, especially since we've had to change the way some of those things work, like different rooms at the school that aren't accessible in our current situation, how are we gonna build the programs moving forward with that in mind?
So I'm just trying to clarify, you want more data related to this? A little bit deeper dive into?
No, just I think a more
Or just
forward-looking objective as
Okay.
opposed to keeping what we're doing going.
Okay.
I don't know if I'm saying that. very
Well,
These are goal things, so
Right.
have it goal oriented.
Yeah.
So that we're moving towards a
Right.
spot that's better than where we're at.
Right,
So,
right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Crystal, did
Go
I hear
ahead,
you?
Crystal.
Well, I would say I would second what she's saying, that I love the way and the simplicity of this. I think we just need a tiny bit more detail so it shows clear goals and where we want to be headed.
And I think it's articulating the where we are, where we want to be, and then how we're gonna get there, kind of that pathway. So we can work with Sherry and with Cheryl to define both where we are and the work that we're doing, the progress we're hoping to achieve, and then define that goal.
Any more discussion on?
Well, I guess
this
just
item?
one more clarification here. Heidi, would you, I mean, do you want like Bill and I to put some stuff in for equity and retool this a little bit, or? do you
Yeah,
wanna
that'd be-
work-
that'd be
I mean,
great.
I don't need to volunteer you.
I just.
Well, I was gonna say, I was looking at the two areas, you guys have a natural fit for, both student success and equity, because you're gonna be dealing with those,
And in fact, if you wanted to kind of split this up, it might be.
That's what I'm wondering, if splitting up different sections makes sense.
Yeah, that's great.
I'm gonna start handing out tasks. Okay.
well, I think probably what we should do is, maybe create a rough draft, a working draft. Bring that back to the board to look at and kind of fine tooth comb, and then, maybe, like you said, maybe at our June meeting, have something that we can vote on and put into action. Does that sound like a timeline that,
Yeah, I agree.
we have a rough
That's
draft
what
and we'll have a working document by
Yeah.
next month. And then in June, translate that into an actionable item.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a number of coffee and scones if we have it.
Good. I've been holding out.
Okay, is that everything on 2B? I guess we'll go on to 2C. And thank you, Heidi, for doing that,
Yes, thanks, Heidi.
putting that together and kind of making it, kind of like, because
Yeah.
you had all this stuff thrown at you, and you had a pretty good set of ideas of where you wanted to go anyway, and.
Yeah, I'm happy to do it.
So on 2C, just a clarification for me, is this shaded the redaction, or did the copier just turn highlight to
Yeah.
black? I'm wondering if that's redaction or is that highlight?
The,
Mine is color.
Oh, you have color? Yeah.
well, there's two different versions.
Oh, yeah,
There's
yeah,
one
you're
that
right.
I left the original in, but then I also included the
Okay.
OSBA, so you could see the difference. And where this came from, to give everyone context, is the November 2020 OSBA policy update included a review of graduation exercises policy because of a legislative change that allowed different practices to occur. For example, in the model sample policy IKFB, item 2, down near the bottom, a student shall be allowed to wear a dress uniform issued to the student by a branch of the U.S. Armed Forces if the student qualifies to receive the diploma, extended diploma, or alternative certificate, and has completed basic training for and is an active member of the branch of the U.S. Armed Forces. Prior to that, they could not. So that's one of the changes that would be adopted in policy. And then there's an option of, you'll notice the bracket down below that says graduating students will be allowed to wear items of cultural significance in accordance with consistently enforced rules established by the principal or designee. So that would say that if you have a particular cultural tradition where when you do very important things that for your coming of age rights in your culture, or becoming an adult in your culture, they expect you to represent that in some way. It's part of their expression, whatever the traditions are, and they vary. There's so many.
Where are you reading that?
It's in the original policy, IKFB.
Almost to the bottom.
Right, just above end of policy, the paragraph just above end of policy.
Oh,
Right there.
that is in our current policy?
No, this is the new one, the new OSBA model sample policy.
Okay,
Okay, so that is another change. We currently have a practice where we have strict, you may or may not wear certain things. And then what this says is that's no longer something that people should stick to just because it's in a policy, that times have changed. And here's an option, and here's what OSBA recommends. So that's different. So we're having that conversation when it was proposed. We also added a potential idea concept in our suggested statement about the graduation exercises. Should we have something about equity in here? Because we're talking a lot about equity. So one of the suggestions that came forward was that some sort of activity of cultural significance will be part of the district's planned graduation program. Something along that line. That's not exactly the language that we would want the board to adopt, rather it's just the idea of something that could be stated along that line that would create an option for that to happen. So this is where we're at now. We're reading the policy for a second time and trying to decide how we want that to be stated. The graduation is the board's celebration of learning and the accomplishment of reaching the state's diploma requirements and the recognition for the community of the accomplishments of the students. So the district does, or the board does have some input into, because it's your celebration, what all it could involve. And then the details about how that comes together happens at the operational level.
well, I mean, I think that I have. We had some good background information provided to us on this, and I appreciated that. I don't have a problem with this language, but I would, instead of saying activities of cultural significance I would like it to say may. Because I think like somebody else mentioned, mandates are difficult, and insisting, I mean, we don't even have will for selecting salutatorian or valedictorian. So, I mean, the language is pretty consistently made throughout the document, and so this gives some leeway and still, I think, is encouraging to include them. So that's, and while I have the floor, I would like to say, I kind of appreciate the parentheses at the bottom under ODEs regarding the ODE statement on the wearing items of cultural significance. I think that the great thing about graduation is that everybody is unified in wearing the school colors and graduation wear. Everybody, I mean, it's kind of a unifying thing, I think, to wear the board and the robe with the tassels and the different cords that they have earned. And that's, kids are able to decorate their caps in many ways to celebrate their own, create, things that are important to them. And I think that's always been a great tradition. And so they have that little bit of, they have room there to kind of express themselves, and they have. I don't know what this opens the door for. And I just, I think that that's a deeper discussion we should have about the wearing items of culture, whatever. I don't know what that looks like, and I don't want it to be distracting or to take away from the ceremony itself. So that's my input.
I'll follow up with that. The warning, that's not right, the right word. The parentheses language below also made me think of, I'm concerned that there will be, an opportunity for, you know, there are people who want to wear cultural significant items. Who's making the decision of, yes, that is appropriate, no, it's not, and then that becomes really inflammatory. I think I'm concerned of that process being so vague and ill-defined. And I don't know how else to say, how else that could be structured to make it a less of a discretionary decision by somebody, whether or not their request is appropriate.
Well, we happen to have an expert on that. Her name is Deanne Janess.
Okay.
She has run through this process many, many years and has seen just about everything. So I think we can consult with her on what would be a good way to define that. It would be good for her to have some input on this as well.
Yeah, I'm not sure that the two sentences above end of policy is enough for me to be specific enough that we're, you know, gonna let people honor what they need to honor and make the decisions that are right, and not for any other reasons. And I did do some thinking about this highlighted area because I also don't like how it's very prescriptive in when really what we're trying to do is honor the diversity of our students and families, right? And this seems very forced. And I think it's just a matter of language, because I think the intent is something that we all share. So I would have shared this with you guys earlier, but it didn't come into my head until later. So I don't know if this fits, but something along the lines of the graduation program should strive to be inclusive of diversity within the community in ways that may include written spoken languages and performances of cultural significance.
Wow.
So
I like that.
I do too.
Yeah.
we're telling them to honor our cultural diversity in the community, but giving the flexibility to do it in different ways.
Yeah.
So,
I hope you wrote that down.
I wrote it down, but
Yes.
maybe you might not be able to read it. So that, I think, I mean, I don't know. You guys can tell me what you think, but I feel like it gives us the intent that we need and to be very clear that we as a board want our district to behave in this way. And here are some options to do that.
Well, and I think we really want to empower Deanne to be able to execute this in a way that, you know, sort
Right.
of prescribed, but, you know, she's the final arbiter on this. But, you know, make our wishes fairly, you know, as clear as we can, but still give her that, you know, that latitude to, because I understand what you're saying about, you know, about including things that may be disruptive and that line, you know, I don't know. I actually would like to hear from Deanne. If she would speak
Yeah,
to this.
and Crystal has her hand raised.
Oh.
Crystal, is it okay for Deanne to go first?
Yeah, Deanne, you go first.
Thank you, Crystal.
Thank you. Glenn, I didn't quite hear everything that you had to say.
Well, I just wanted to, I think what we're striving here is to be able to, you know, with you as principal, being able to empower you to sort of carry out the board's, you know, goals and wishes on this. Maybe not necessarily, you know, tie your hands or make it so binding, but still give you that latitude, you know, with the idea that, you know, that the diversity of our community is very important. And it's important to the celebration of these kids who have been working for 13 years to, you know, to achieve a goal, so.
Yeah, I really, I like the comment that was made just previously, the rephrasing of it. It was really clear and, but yet gave us a flexibility. I mean, if it's so rigid, it's going to be difficult for somebody who comes into our district, when I retire, that I think the language that was written or was suggested prior is a good subway. I know that our diversity population needs to be honored. I understand that we have neglected a lot of areas that is becoming more and more noticeable as our demographics are starting to change. And I'm excited about entering more of our cultural significance within our graduation. And the part down there about wearing items of cultural significance, to me, that is a new place to be. And I think that it is going to open up a lot of good doors because, for example, this graduating class is our highest number of Native Americans. And so it'd be interesting to have these conversations about how are they going to be able to display what is important to them and their families and their culture, that yet still follows in with the gowns, the caps, the cords, and other things that they can bring forward to our graduation. I'm really looking forward to it. Did that answer your question or comment?
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Thanks, Deanne. Thanks for the perspective. Go ahead, Crystal.
Well, first of all, I want to say, Deanne, what a perfect description of what I was looking for. And that is that all cultures will be considered, not just the two most popular ones right now in our demographics. The second thing is I agree with Christy on that verbiage that she threw out there. And I like the way that that really conveyed the inclusiveness that we want rather than a mandate. And that's why I've had like pause on this multiple times, because it feels like a forceful thing instead of a culture of inclusiveness where we want everybody to be validated that they've done the work, that they're important, all their past traditions, regardless of what culture it comes from, are being included, if that makes sense.
Can I add one more thing?
Sure, go for it.
Thanks, Crystal, because I do want to make that really a strong statement that it includes all of our demographics, not just American natives, but all of them. I mean, we are a lot of Hispanics, but we also have a lot of Russians and Asians within our community. So I want to honor all of them. And so I think that the language that was presented as an option is going to meet all of our needs and yet give us some flexibility to provide a program that is honoring everybody.
Exactly. And hopefully when you guys write up this final doc, it'll really portray that we want all cultures, not just the most popular cultures, to have the option to have that inclusion within our community.
Great progress. Can I ask a question here then?
So how do we, where are we at then with the parentheses under, the parentheses under 2, the second paragraph? So that still allows the principal to say, no, that's not appropriate, or that's inflammatory. I'm just worried about like kind of what Christy was saying about, having having political statements and somebody saying that's my culture, or things that would be,
I agree, Heidi. That was also my concern, is when it becomes a political statement rather than a cultural piece, that could cause defamation across the board. I don't want a bar brawl at graduation.
Is there any way to make it any type of language from somewhere else about political statements not included and keep it as our culture diversity significance.
I would support that being added in there, that no political statements, or somebody would need obviously to wordsmith that, but I would be more inclined to vote for this if there's like a kind of like asterisk somewhere that says, you know, political statements won't be considered cultural.
Well, it does say consistently enforced rules established by the principal. So maybe if, you know, operationally, if there are rules that the district comes up with to, you know, like we have a dress code, I guess it would be like that. So Deanne, can I ask you, can you give me an example of like the cultural items that we might see?
For what they would wear.
Yeah.
I don't know specifically, but I know a lot of the Native Americans might be wanting to wear some of their native neckwear.
Okay. It wouldn't be like in lieu of the cap and gown.
It would be in addition to it.
All right.
It would be more like the cords and stuff is what I'm thinking of, because we have restricted decorating our gowns to keep them specifically just a gown, and have allowed some of the top of their caps to be decorated. But I think this would be an addition to more around their necks is what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
I mean, because right now in the past we have allowed some of the wear from the military, which is now, I'm really happy to see that piece too, that they can wear their uniforms if we allow that.
Well, we allow leis and things like that. So
yeah. So that's where I see that occurring more than. But again, we're going to territory that we have never addressed before.
And I'm wondering, based on your comments about that, I will explore, I will talk to a few other superintendents. I see this, the policies that we have that protect students from, like the all students belong policy, and the no harassment, cyberbullying, you know, all those things that we do. If anything that would be proposed to be worn that we know is intentionally done to make someone upset, you know, there's already rules in place that you could access to back up your decision not to let someone wear something. So that we can do that work. We have it in our own policies and can cite those policies. The second thing is when I think about the multitude of communities that we have, I'm uncomfortable trying to write policies about what they can and cannot wear without talking to them first and seeing what are all the possibilities. I don't want to accidentally do something that's offensive when I'm trying to be equitable. I mean, so I think we need to reach out and talk to some people. And maybe Deanne, maybe that would be a great way in which you can help us with this, to talk to some of your seniors about that and see what their input is. And then give us some feedback on that and see how that fits into this policy.
That's I like that, Ginger. I also noticed down below where it says the student may be denied participation. That might be something to put in there, that they might be denied what's allowed in violation of the code of conduct, because that covers a lot of all that issues that you're just saying about the cyberbullying and all of that. Just a suggestion.
So keeping up the discussion with the dress cultural significance, are we we gonna ask prior to, late entering school or high school, or I don't know, to what level, to make sure that a kid will not dress up as somebody else to make fun of somebody else.
Yes.
So how are we gonna determine that, yes, you are who you are,
Mhm.
and that you are allowed to wear that particular,
Mm.
because I don't know, I mean, it can happen. I would think.
Right.
Because I know kids can be really, really mean too.
And I guess that would fall into the harassment category, and they would not be able to participate if they were making fun of somebody.
No, I know that, I mean, like, if I, for instance, like, if I know that I can, if I want to do that, and then I claim, because now we have families that are biracial.
Mhm.
So if I said, well, I want to take this side.
Yeah.
And I want to wear this.
Mhm.
But in reality, I want to do it not because of that, because I want to cause some disturbance here.
Mm.
Am I making any sense here?
Yeah.
I hear you, Ricardo. You want to make sure that the cultural piece that they're choosing to wear is because it's within their culture. Am I understanding you correctly? And it's not out of style or design?
Not so much for that. I mean, I would think if somebody wants to wear something, which I don't think this is what it's about, but if someone feels like wants to dress up like a different culture, I think it should be fine. And I don't think we should go to that extent. But I'm just saying that if someone is biracial and then like at the end, he or she would like to use one of them and just for other reasons, not for the really purpose of his or her culture, then how I would want to define that that's exactly what he or she is wearing that.
Yeah. And that's a hard question to answer, because if someone identifies as something, we can't tell them they can't do that. And another issue that's come up that high schools are dealing with now is that for gender equity, they don't want the genders to have to wear different colors. Because what if you don't identify as one? And you want to identify as the other, or you want a combination, or you want to wear polka dots? Why is that happening? So that's a big issue right now. We're trying to figure out what to do statewide with, if we're all united and all the same, then pick one color to represent the school, not force people to have two different colors. And I don't know how I feel about that. I mean,
Can I answer part of that?
Sure.
A couple years ago, when we changed to all green instead of white and green, I was looking at our student body and noticing that this is going to come at us sooner than we expect. And I took the option to our site council and we made that change. A year before I started noticing where it was going to be a big issue. So with Ricardo, what you're saying is these are things that we need to look forward and not back. And we need to start educating our students and our staff and our community of the importance of identifying kids and who they are and we accept them for who they are. And when we made that change to green, we had absolutely no pushback. It is what it was for a reason. And I think that is our biggest part, is we always got to think forward and educate as we keep moving. And everything's going to start coming up, and we got to be ready for it, and we got to be willing and open to talk about it.
I would agree, Deanne, that being proactive is probably a benefit. And I noticed when you guys all changed to, well, everybody changed to green. And I thought that was a wise decision. I mean, you could allow people to choose one of the two colors and have no requirements. And I think as we move forward, we still need to be aware that ultimately this is the children's opportunity to celebrate their success, not the requirements of all the adult wants. So I just want to throw that in there. Like, they've worked these 13 years and they're another generation, and they really need to be able to have some options and decisions moving forward in their celebrations.
And I think, I mean, we have a student now on our committee for planning, and our planning is just to discuss what our graduation is going to look like and what is going to be involved in it. And it's a different voice, and I'm happy, excited about having that voice honor this committee. And we work out the logistics, but this committee is laying out the plan. And so with the situation that we have been forced into with COVID and the changes that we are having to be made, it is causing us and forcing us to have our students have more of a voice. And I am so excited about that, because we are educating young adults and we need to listen to their voices, and we need to celebrate what they have gone through. And I agree with you, Crystal. We have to continue to look forward, and we've got to have our students' voice.
So would it be, I don't know how you would do this, but if you have students who want to wear items of cultural significance, there's nothing in here about how that actually happens, that somebody just rolls up to graduation with what they want to wear, or can we do that in some sort of process beforehand so that it
Yes,
appears equitable and
Yes.
is equitable
and
and
that's the work that Deanne.
avoid some of what Ricardo is saying,
Yes.
maybe?
Yes, and that would be the two parts of policy. The policy is the guidance for the ideas, the big ideas, and to try to ensure that we don't unintentionally cause legal troubles. And then Deanne takes that information and then writes down what the rules are. And it lives in the student handbook and is communicated in advance to the community. And then she monitors that process to make sure that it's followed. So that's not work that we do. We could, if it would be helpful, I don't know, I talked to Deanne about this, if she feels it would be necessary to give her the support that she needs when someone comes at her because they don't agree with how she's done something. You can have administrative regulations that define how the policy will be implemented at the school. So Deanne and I could write an administrative regulation that would give the framework to have her back should someone come out.
Yeah.
So that would be my recommendation for that. And I don't, the OSBA has not provided an administrative reg, and that's probably because it's unique from area to area.
Sure.
So they would want us to come up with our own.
You know about ARs.
Okay. Oh, yes.
Well, I think that to me, I mean, I'm not super familiar with what that would look like in this case, but to me, it seems like that might protect what kind of Ricardo is talking about.
Yes.
Or, you know, put the structure there to maybe discourage that.
Yes.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
So just a clarification, Ginger, is is this policy like going to be like now? Because there hasn't been much education on it.
We know as a board that we're adopting this now, but you're already in the stream. So we wouldn't expect you to go, I need to change everything. We would expect that to happen next year, and it would be phased in. However, the things that you're doing right now for this particular graduation are a real good step forward. So keep on
Okay.
Keep doing that. No. You don't get a policy in May and then have to implement it in June. No. ODE does that. We don't do that.
Thank you.
Having said that, I would hope that we're not putting anything in here that's really change. I mean, we're kind of already doing all this already, right?
Yes.
So I mean, we're not really doing anything hugely. This is not a 180-degree turn or anything.
No.
Mm-mm. The only big piece is the wearing the items of cultural significance. So it's not harassment was my concern.
Right.
Because we haven't got that in place with our student handbook or anything like that. So that was where my light came on. Is that piece is only, but everything. I mean, we've already done a lot of the stuff every year. Maybe not as much as we would like to, and I understand that. But it's just, we haven't put it in our documents to present it to our students. That was my only concern.
Yeah, and I think you're early enough to give them a little bit of a heads up. I mean, you haven't planned the ceremony yet. You just started. So you have enough time to make adjustments because it will be adopted as official policy. So it's in place to support you in moving in that direction. So you could make some adjustments this year and then make sure it's fully implemented the upcoming year. But building an on-ramp for that change by moving in the direction that you're headed right now with the student involvement and the parent involvement. I know you have a couple different community members on that committee. And meeting the spirit of this revised policy, I think you can still do that this year. But yeah, again, not everything will roll out next year on more levels as far as the staff handbook, student handbook, and all that.
Right. No, I mean, I have no issues. I just was concerned about the student handbook piece because that's just a new piece.
So we're going to see a draft of the edited document before we vote on it, right?
We can, yeah, because this is the second reading.
This is the second reading.
Yeah.
If you're gonna adopt tonight, we need language and emotion, I'm assuming.
Yes.
Well, I wanted to make sure that we took out the activities of cultural significance will be part of the district's planned graduation program and put in the language that Christy had used.
Oh, yeah, I think everyone agrees with that.
Yeah, I really like her language, and I think, as Bill was just pointing out, this isn't a business meeting,
Right.
so we're typically not gonna, enact and adopt
Oh, no.
policy in this meeting, but I think we should probably, if we have a consensus here forming, if you can, if we can get that language
Yeah, sure.
into the draft and then prepare to vote on it in our May meeting, so.
Okay, perfect. That's what I was saying. I was just wanting to make sure that we would see the correct language in there as a draft so that when I voted on it, I felt confident that the policy was presented as written. I don't like to have we'll make these 12 addendments and then we'll vote on it.
Okay? That was a great discussion.
Yeah, it was. Does anybody else have any other business?
I just have questions about other stuff.
Sure.
I just, can you be, so to clarify kind of where we're at with our admin positions right now. You're realigning the elementary. And then removing some positions around, is my understanding. So you're not adding right now
No.
an administrative position,
No.
but can you explain, is that the communications position, what is that? Can you explain what that
That's
is?
a classified employee.
It's a classified employee.
They would work in our office, and their job is to oversee the entire communications process. Social media, press releases, telling the story of the teachers in the schools, helping us have a presence, providing feedback, getting information, building relationships, using the website. It's this person that received the offer from us and accepted, has 22 years experience in communication and has been a reporter, has been worked for several entities, including Portland State. She was here on a tour with the Portland State Graduate School of Education and said, wow, if there was one school district that I would want to work for, it's this one. She has a commitment and passion for equity and loves our district and what we're trying to do. She fell in love with the primary and the intermediate schools program, partnering with the high school for the bilingual teacher pathway. So the kids come down from the high school, work in the ELD classroom with primary level students to help them. And it's social emotional learning and academic learning at the same time. And she just loved that. So when she saw the job posted, she said she really wanted it. So
Now, is that a full-time position?
yes.
Okay. And then, okay, I guess that, and then this equity position that you talked about with the film 34.99, whatever it was.
Yes, yes.
That is also a full-time position?
It's a combination. It will be, we're putting the posting together now. It'll be posted next day or two. We need someone to lead the equity work. We also need someone to lead, because Andy is leading now. We need someone to run the Title III and the Title I-C, which are the ELD program and the migrant education program. We need someone to run the House Bill 3499 grant, which specifically requires someone to do that work and pays for it. It would be a combination. One, we wanted a community liaison, someone focused on ELD for the student investment account. That was something the community said they wanted. Now we also have the House Bill 3499 money coming, and they require that work to be done by someone and someone to be assigned to that. So we need someone who can fill all of those roles, has experience in all those roles, and can help us with the district goals.
So is that a TOSA? I mean, what, is that
No.
confidential?
No,
What is
it
that?
has to be an administrator.
An administrative position. So they require, so we would have somebody who's administrative licenses then?
Yes.
Okay. So that's gonna be, are we gonna have enough money to cover that?
Linda has built it into her budget. Okay. Now, if we had 9.3 million instead of 9.1 coming from the legislature, it would make things a little bit better. So I know everyone's advocating for that. And if you haven't yet written your elected officials about the need for more money, they think that we have a lot of money, we don't. Please do so. We want a minimum of 9.3 in the state school fund, just saying.
And then I also had questions about, do we know yet what fall will look like or not yet?
We want it to be 5 days. We're planning on 5 days. The only thing that would stop us from doing 5 days is if some variant comes and impacts the healthcare system again.
But with all kids in school 5 days a week.
The teachers want that, staff wants that, we want that, everybody wants that.
One, you need that. Yeah.
Yeah, so we're looking forward to it. So we're starting to make plans. And the topic that was mentioned is a document that came out from ODE called Student Learning Unfinished, Not Lost. And it's providing the framework for the integration of accelerated learning and supports for students over the next year or so, in a different way of looking at the education progress than we have in the past. Because everyone recognizes that things just aren't going to snap back to the way that they were. And viewing it from a deficit point of view instead of from an asset, what do people bring to it, what it takes done. Irma had reported that more students reach proficiency on their ELPA exam, the English Language Proficiency Assessment, this year than the time when more students are exiting this year than have in the past. And so the idea that this whole thing has been a deficit for kids we're not seeing the data to support that. We're seeing that kids, we saw how many kids were on the honor. We're seeing that although some kids struggled, there were some things accomplished. And there's a lot to celebrate. So I've included that article for you in this packet, and I will put it in the board notes so that more people can see it. It's a great way to rethink where we're at and what's coming next and what's possible. And I've heard staff talking about it. Oh, we can do these great accelerated things to help kids and kind of build on that learning. They're finally becoming independent learners. So now they're able to do things in ways that they haven't been able to do in the past. So staff are kind of jumping all over that and coming up with ways in which to engage kids and accelerate them and have them accomplish things that they wouldn't have been able to do without this unfortunate circumstance. I mean, it really has changed things. So I encourage you to read that because I know the staff is working with it right now. And what that means to them.
What about summer? What summer looks like?
Well,
Anything on that?
we're exploring that. We know for sure because we want to make sure that every senior that is close to graduating can remain in school until August 30th to have time to finish. So I know Deanne's working on what that would look like. So far of the parents that we've surveyed and called, we've had a total of 28 students that indicate grades 9 through 12 that they're willing to go to summer school. In grades 6 through 8, we've had 30 kids total. 3, 4, and 5, 19 kids. And grades K through 2, 30. So there aren't a lot of kids really interested in summer school, but some of these grades are critical. So I'm going to ask staff tomorrow if they're interested, and if the buildings, I know for sure that high school is likely to do it. I think people, when I've heard, staff are interested in doing the summer school. So that may happen. It would be great if K through 2 could also do that. But I don't know if you can put a quality program together with only 30 students, because that's hard to staff. So we'll just have to see as more information comes available. The Willamette ESD is also having school districts partner that either have a great demand but no staff to provide support so that the district can have summer school, or for school districts that have the teachers can send, another school district can send students there. Put them on a bus, send them up there. So there are other possibilities being explored at the same time. We have to decide one way or the other by May 10th, I believe, or May 14th. It's coming up, the deadline for applying for this class. So, yeah, so we're still in the process of figuring out if that can actually happen. We don't see from the community that there's a great deal of interest. So that's the summer school update. Okay,
Anything else?
that's for me.
I guess with that, we'll adjourn, or call this meeting adjourned.
Okay.
Thanks you guys for coming, and thank you for the presentations tonight.
Thank you.
Appreciation.